Today on the Big 3 in 30, SGA hits a game winner for the Thunder versus the Nuggets.
Man, did they prove yet again they're the best team in the NBA.
The Cavs take care of the 76ers.
It's a nice bounce-back game for the Cavs after the loss to the Celtics on Sunday.
And the Clippers beat the Knicks to get back to 500.
A game that was exciting, a game that had a lot of twists and turns.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Thunder and Nuggets played a great one last night that went all the way down to the final seconds. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hit a game-winning three for OKC, and Rylan Stiles recaps the thriller on Locked On Thunder.
Look, the Thunder did not have J-Dub tonight, did not have Chet Holmgren tonight, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Caruso, but A.J. Mitchell did return, and A.J. Mitchell was huge against Denver, who was healthy sans Peyton Watson. And Peyton Watson, of course, a massive part of Denver, but this is the most healthy you can expect to be in this position, in these shoes, as Jamal Murray battled through an ankle injury, and he was moving better than expected, and I thought that he was really gutsy yet again tonight against OKC. But the Thunder start the game with SGA, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, and Jay Will. That was their starting five against the traditional Denver Nuggets starting lineup. Like, that's what the Thunder were up against. And I said it in our preview episode. I said it in the Everydayer Discord on the text line as well. The Thunder coming into this game would have been lucky to keep this thing close, much less win. But man, did they prove yet again they're the best team in the NBA. They're the best team in the NBA. They have the widest margin of error in a game where you don't have J-Dub, your number 2 scorer. You don't have Chet Holmgren, your number 3 scorer. Both those guys, all defensive players. You don't have your starting center. You don't have Alex Caruso. You're looking around thinking, how are the Thunder going to get a rebound? How are the Thunder going to stop Jokic? How are the Thunder going to keep control in the paint? How are they going to do much of anything? Those are massive pieces. And this game starts out with a Jokic personal 4-0 run. And Aaron Gordon was unbelievable. I mean, he had 13 of the team's 17 points, and that was just scratching the surface of what he was able to do. He had 19 minutes at the 5:06 mark, Aaron Gordon did. Because Denver kept feeding him, and he was a matchup nightmare for the Thunder early on in this game. Because they don't have their guys. They didn't have the ability to defend Aaron Gordon. And the Thunder were small across the board tonight. They didn't have the same positional versatility. They didn't have the same length. And they didn't have the same personnel. But in spite of that, they rose to the occasion and got the win. And it was not easy to do. On top of Aaron Gordon starting hot, the three-point shot did not fall for OKC early on. They start 1 for 6 from 3 in this game and end up shooting 40% from beyond the arc. And end up having the three-point shot turn this whole game around. And it was because the Thunder made the adjustment, and A.J. Mitchell, in his return, gave great energy on both ends. The Thunder go to an SGA, Jared McCain, A.J. Mitchell lineup with Kenrich and J-Will down low, and they found success getting it to a 4-point game. And when you're only trailing by 3 at the end of the first quarter because A.J. Mitchell was so incredible, and then you go on an 18-4 run to start the second quarter, that's what it's like playing OKC. It doesn't matter how you start, right? It doesn't matter if you play great basketball for a segment. You've got to do it for 48 minutes against this team, regardless of who's on the court. If that piece of laundry that says Oklahoma City or Thunder across the chest is on the court, you got to play a 48-minute game because OKC's going to. And Shai was in complete and total control. And the Thunder handled punches and delivered some of their own. We talked about that massive hole that they got into to start this game. Denver got down 12. And out of the timeout, Denver goes on a run. They cut the lead to 3 in the blink of an eye. And from there, it was just teetering. Back and forth. OKC could get back up by 6. Then Denver can take the lead. And at a halftime, there was a 2-minute long scoring drought for both sides, where OKC was generating some great threes, some great looks. These were practice shots. These were layup line shots that OKC could not capitalize on, which allowed Denver to go on a run in the third quarter. And again, they played back and forth basketball. The offensive processing was there for OKC. The energy was there for OKC. Had they lost this game, it would not have been anything of in their control. It would have been because that they didn't have their guys. But instead, they get the win because in the fourth quarter, with 11-11 left and no SGA in the court, as SGA went back to his normal rotation, the Thunder reserves and reserves in some instances did more than enough to pass the baton to Shai, get this game to clutch time, and let SGA take over. SGA was brilliant in this game. SGA put his stamp on the MVP award. SGA is the best player in the world. What he can do on both ends of the floor, he's the best player in the world, and he won this game. Yes, we're going to talk Jay, who had a great night. Yes, we'll talk Joe and McCain's onion threes in the fourth quarter. I mean, that was unbelievable. We'll talk AJ Mitchell, who was sensational. But it all revolves around SGA. He controlled the pace of this game. He controlled the tempo of this game. He controlled the offensive processing in this game. He got stops defensively late, and he hit two dagger threes. Because even though you had the flagrant foul on Dort, and you had J. Will fighting through a screen as an off-ball foul, to give two separate 4-point plays to Denver in the clutch, they got bailed out, the Thunder did, by having SGA. By having SGA, it didn't matter. Because that's what legendary players do. That's what MVPs do. That's what all-time greats do. And it's unbelievable watching SGA play for Oklahoma City. The Thunder came back from down 13 in this game against all odds. In a game where I thought they'd be lucky to be in it. But once again, OKC stands up, and it does just make you wonder what this is going to look like if and when they can get all their pieces together. They came back from down 13. They blew a 12-point lead themselves in a game that had 17 lead changes and 13 ties, and OKC getting crushed on the glass, 56-37. Denver only having 7 turnovers tonight, but OKC has just 3. You want to know why? Because Shai had 0. The highest usage rate, he had 0. He picked apart Denver in every which way. The Thunder let up 54 points in the paint, but have 48 themselves. And despite the Nuggets dominating the glass, 56-37, and dominating second chance points, 29-7, OKC has 2. They have SGA. They have the MVP. They have the best player in the world. They have SGA. And it didn't matter. This is another clutch time loss for Denver. This is another frustrating loss for Denver. And in a game that they had everything go right for them. It was a brilliantly called game by this crew. It was as depleted as you could get for Oklahoma City while still having SGA. They got out to the start that they needed. They had the matchup advantage in Gordon. They didn't have Ihart to worry about, Caruso to worry about, J-Dub to worry about. They didn't have those changes and alterations that OKC likes to make to throw the different coverages at Jokic and throw the different coverages at Denver. It all lined up for Denver to get their first win over OKC this year. Didn't happen. It didn't happen on a historic night for OKC, a historic night for SGA, and a disappointing night for Denver. The Thunder, again, start 1 for 6 from 3. They make half their shots in this game, shooting 50%. They shoot 40% from 3 on 19 makes to Denver's 15 makes. The Thunder get a wildly impressive win, their very best win of the season, and prove yet again that the margin for error is wider for OKC than any other team. And when you get to the part where you're parsing through which contenders, which teams are the best, it's the one that can handle the most adversity. Because you're going to go through adversity in the postseason. You're going to go through adversity when it matters the most. And when you can handle all the guys that were out tonight, And you can go through a situation where Cason Wallace plays 17 minutes due to foul trouble and is 2 for 6 in those 17 minutes. And Lou Dort plays 30 minutes, 31 minutes really, and is 2 for 11. You think about that. Of your starting lineup, you didn't have 3 of them. The ones that you did have, Shai was incredible. Lou Dort went 2 for 11. And the Thunder still get the win. They still get the win. It is remarkable how good this Thunder team is. It's remarkable how much they can endure. And it's another great win for the Thunder. Another great win for the Thunder, who now have 51 on the year. And SGA now has his name forever attached to Wilt and has a chance to break Wilt's record on Thursday against Boston. Because you are watching an all-time great player. You are watching a legendary player. You're watching history. Again, in Oklahoma City. Soak that in. What a luxury that it is. And what a luxury that Shai is to have for OKC. In a dominant night, a historic night, and a night where he had 35 points, a career-high 15 assists, 9 rebounds, a steal, a block, and 0 turnovers. He changed the game. He hit the shot. The shots, really. And he was the moment. He didn't match the moment. He was the moment. We'll talk about SGA and his historic night. We'll talk about Jared McCain stepping up, Isaiah Joe stepping up, and AJ Mitchell was dominant in his return. And AJ Mitchell tonight showed you why this Thunder team is better equipped to handle playoff environments, playoff defenses, and a playoff run. They're better equipped to do that this year than they were even a year ago when they hoisted the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. James Harden led Cleveland with 21 points, and the Cavs beat the 76ers last night. Locked On Cavs host Danny Cunningham goes over the win.
It's a nice bounce back game for the Cavs after the loss to the Celtics on Sunday. We're going to get into that. The guards, man. Spida and the Beard. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell take care of business, and Keon Ellis is just fantastic tonight. All that and a whole lot more. And of course, I'm going to hear from you all, our everydayers, as well. Let's go ahead and let's get started with the show tonight.
This is what you'll be talking about.
So just before I got on here, I saw Danny Cunningham posted a tweet on, I guess, on X now, that kind of said, this is a game we really didn't learn anything about the Cavaliers. And I think that's true. It's a Sixers team that doesn't have Embiid, Maxey, George, Edgecombe. They're down basically everybody. They're starting Cameron Payne, who somehow is still getting contracts in the NBA. That's really surprising to me as well. I think that's a fair analysis for the game. But with that in mind, I feel like the way they kind of bounced back after how things went in Boston against Boston on Sunday, it was nice to see. So the first off, they pick up their 40th win of the year. That's huge. They're now 40-25 going into the last stretch of the season. So we'll take that for sure. And you're also looking at a situation where you kind of got to take every win you can possibly get at this point, right? So we're now at the point where we've played 65 games. We got 17 left in the season. And I know that the conversation for the Cavaliers schedule particularly is that they're going to face a lot of teams who are quote unquote tanking. So you got to take advantage and pick up the wins while you can. And I'm all for it. Now, they were still without Jared Allen tonight. Sam Merrill gave them nothing. That's not a knock on Sam. It just wasn't his day. and they still found a way to win an NBA game. So I know people are going to be like, it's the Sixers, G League team. I get it. Last I checked, they also had an NBA patch on their jersey as well. So you just take a win like that. You take it absolutely. Some of the things I want to really kind of jump out, obviously, is Dean Wade getting his first double-double of the season, 13 and 10 tonight. He was 5 and 9 from the floor, 3 of 6 from 3. Probably really, when the game really started to get out of hand in the second quarter on that 10-0 run, he hits that 3. That was probably the be-all end-all. That was probably the start, the beginning of the end for the Cavs to pick up the win. Evan Mobley tonight, 15 and 8 with 3 blocks. I thought he was awesome. I know his scoring isn't where we're used to for him, but thought he did a really great job, especially Adem Bona, I thought played really well for Philadelphia. He was game. He was ready to go against Mobley, and Mobley kind of took care of business there against him and Andre Drummond. So that's what you suspect. Mobley's definitely the better player of those 3 guys. So you want to see him go do that as well. And then Jalen Tyson tonight, once again, not sure why he's not starting, but 11 points tonight off the bench. Wasn't his greatest shooting game from the floor, goes 4 of 11, but those 3 threes he hit, he's 3 of 6 from the 3, were huge, and he was a plus 10 tonight as well. Obviously, we're going to talk about some of the other guys' performances too, but Thomas Bryant, I thought, also gave them really nice minutes with 8 and 5 in 12 minutes as well. It's just a game that, you expect the Cavs to go in there and take care of business, and they did just that. Home crowd got a nice show, and, you get to see them pick up their 40th win and keep things afloat. So now that you're looking at this, you're kind of seeing what's going around the league right now. And if you're checking, we're at the point now where we're in playoff watch, right? We're in conference standings. So they're a game behind the Knicks for the 3 seed, which would give them Orlando if the season ended today. But right now they have that match with Toronto. So obviously a lot of basketball to be played. But tonight, the Cavaliers gave you just what they needed to do. It's not a lesson learned game. It's not a a game that you're going to walk away and be like super impressed with, but they got the win at home against a team that didn't have anybody. So you got to take full advantage, and we'll go ahead and give them credit as well. Tonight was the night the guards did what they had to do and took care of business.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under the radar impact with today's X Factor.
Well, I don't know if they were super under the radar considering they were the 2 best players on the floor tonight, but I will go ahead and give full advantage to Donovan Mitchell and James Harden for being excellent tonight. Now, Mitchell was great yesterday against Boston. He's always great against the Celtics. So you probably, you suspect you're going to always get the best out of him. He's your best player on your team. That's fine. Tonight, 17 points, 6 assists. Didn't have to do a whole lot, but was able to get to the line and was great there. 9 of 9 from the stripe as well, and just kind of did business as usual things against the 76ers team that you suspect. Now, James Harden was not very good yesterday, as we know, against the Celtics, and they needed a lot for him. They need to see the bounce back. You want to see how does it go for James when he doesn't have his best days, and he was really good tonight. So he's got 21, 5 and 5. Obviously, you got to think this was in 29 minutes of play just because how the game was going. Second night of a back-to-back. They probably didn't want to use him too much. He's 6-11 from the floor. He's 3 of 8 from 3, and he's 6 of 6 from the line. Also picked up his 29,000th career point. That's pretty impressive. So kudos to James on that as well. And this is what you suspect you're going to get from these 2 guys when they play together, right? This is when you make the trade, when you trade Darius, who's been a part of your franchise for a really long time. This is what you're hoping to get from your guys. Just kind of like, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to just like be jaw dropping, but go out there and win the games you got to win and compete in the games that you might be a little bit more even. And I thought today was a game when those 2 guys just kind of understood what they had to do. They did what it took. And now we can all get on the plane, get ready for Orlando on Wednesday and be in a good mood. I thought those 2 guys were really good tonight. And I thought those 2 guys did everything they had to do for the Cavs to make sure they wrap this game up as quickly as possible. Other guys I want to mention tonight, Dennis Schroeder wasn't necessarily great offensively. I'm not going to go ahead and go that far, but I still thought he gave them solid minutes defensively for the Cavs. I know just 4 points tonight, only took 2 shots, but when he was in the game, kind of make sure that, his presence was felt. And that's what he does. And I thought he was really solid there tonight as well. Granted, I know he's playing against like Dalen Terry and Marjan Beauchamp and Justin Edwards, who Justin Edwards was actually pretty darn good tonight. So I probably shouldn't put him in that list. But I liked what they got from him tonight. And I think the Cavs will take that as well. Especially, like I said, we got a mini road trip coming up with going to Orlando and then going to Dallas. And then you come home for Dallas again next week. So I thought this was a solid day for the Cavs, a game they really needed coming off that Celtics loss. Get right back in the good swing of things against a playoff team albeit a beaten up playoff team. So you'll take that as well. But one guy who full on took the challenge today and knew I was bad against Boston. I had to be better today. Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis tonight made sure the Heat was going to have the bounce back game he needed the most.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Now, other guys may have scored more than him. Other guys may have done more than him as far as playing more minutes. But Keon Ellis tonight, 19 points in 25 minutes played, 5 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3. Had a steal yet again. He was awesome. 5 of 7 from the free throw line, a plus 25 in the plus minus. This was the night that Keon Ellis showed why he's a Cleveland Cavalier. This is why the Cavs went and got him in that DeAndre Hunter trade. This is what they needed from him. He has stepped up and he's been so big for them. I saw in the chat recently and Everyday made a comparison of him to, I compared it to Iman Shumpert and what Iman Shumpert meant to the title team. And he compared him to like a Drew Holiday, which I think is a really nice comp as well. I don't know if he's necessarily the full on offensive player Drew can be, but you saw him be a really good offensive player tonight. So maybe that's in his bag as well. But this was a really awesome game for Keon. It's a game where he's becoming quickly a Cavs fan favorite with how well he's been able to play. And he's really just giving them everything they possibly need as a bench guy, as a backup wing, and a guy that makes a lot of sense no matter who you put out there with him. Obviously, Keon and Mobley are going to make the defense that much better. You can have Keon and Mitchell out there. You can have Keon with Harden, who's going to have those catch and shoot opportunities. When Max Strus comes back, you can have him as a guy who can stretch the floor. If Max Strus comes back, Dennis Schroeder and him already have chemistry from playing together at the beginning of the season in Sacramento. So he fits really well with basically everybody on the team. He's just like a really big glue guy who's immensely talented and just brings a different dynamic to the Cavs that they haven't had really in a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and give our guy Keon Ellis the Locked On Player of the Game.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30. Kawhi Leonard scored 29 points, and the Clippers handed the Knicks a loss to get back to an even 500 on the season. Locked On Clippers host Darian Vaziri recaps the win.
We finally got to 500 in this game, beating the New York Knicks at Intuit Dome on Monday night, a game that I was at, a game that was exciting, a game that had a lot of twists and turns. Going to be talking about how Darius Garland and Benedict Mathurin looked, and Kawhi Leonard, just how well is he playing right now, and another guy I want to give a huge shout out to. But let's slow down. Your LA Clippers, our LA Clippers, my LA Clippers, are a 500 team again. For the first time since we were 3-3. It has been one of the craziest turnarounds I've ever seen in an NBA season. Definitely the biggest turnaround of any season I've ever seen as a Clipper fan. We were 6-21, and Ty Lue said, if we go, 35-20? Yeah, 35-20. The rest of the year, we can finish, we'll be 41-41. And boy, we're probably going to finish better than 41-41. I mean, you can't say enough about this team. There's been a lot of different evolutions of this team. There's been a lot of change in the roster. There's been a lot of drama. But they have found a way. And this game, you see it against a good team. The Knicks are one of the contenders out east. They have multiple stars in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who we saw it into it for the All-Star game. And we have 2 stars as well, Kawhi Leonard and Darius Garland. And we didn't even have John Collins. They had Josh Hart. They had Mikal Bridges. They had OG Anunoby. They had Jalen Brunson. You know, the main guys they were missing were Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson, who are definitely top 7, 8 guys in their rotation. So that's relevant. We were missing John Collins. At the end of the day, I don't feel sorry for anyone as a Clipper fan. You know, we started out 6-21 with a geriatric team that was filled with older guys that were playing together that collectively made things old. We were horrible in transition. Kawhi Leonard missed 10 games early on in the season, and we were 2-8 in those 10 games. James Harden had a couple of high turnover games. Ivica Zubac regressed. Brook Lopez and Chris Paul playing together was a nightmare because of how slow and old they were. Bradley Beal was on a minutes. He didn't even get cleared from his minutes restriction and got injured 10 games into the season. Bogey was atrocious and didn't even get, he couldn't even stay healthy. All these things mattered. And then Kawhi came back and he was on a minutes restriction. And then the tide started to flip. And it all started to flip with Kawhi. Starts to flip with Kawhi. And starts to flip with John Collins shooting better from the field. And James Harden, honestly, was our most constant point of the season. And even before we were winning games, he was pretty solid. And when Zubac got hurt, that kind of kickstarted our run. Brook Lopez, that was when his season turned around. And then slowly but surely, you get guys like Derrick Jones Jr. back. Kawhi starts playing at an insane level. Then you make the trade, and we've continued to play well after these trades. You know, after Ivica Zubac and James Harden got sent to Cleveland and Indiana, respectively. You would never think that we would play this well after the trade, but once we got Darius Garland back, you could see it. Monday night was a 126-118 win over the Knicks on national television. And I mean, where do I begin? You know, it was a very even game, neck and neck throughout, but we kind of had the lead for most of the game. Not kind of, we had the lead for most of the game. Full on sellout tonight at Intuit, although there were some seats in the upper level in the terrace that were open behind the basket. So I guess people just didn't show up to those. But according to ESPN, every seat was sold. And we had a couple games in a row, I think 3 games in a row, where we didn't sell out. We did not trail for a second of this. Actually, no, it says we trailed by 1 at one point. But we led by as many as 15. We led almost the entire game. We outscored them by 4 points in the first quarter, 28-24. Outscored them by 5 points in the second, 36-31. And then they outscored us by 2 in the third, 26-24. And then it was a high-scoring fourth quarter with a lot of fouls. We outscored them 38-37 to win it 126-118. I'll tell you, it was getting a little nervy at one point. Jalen Brunson started getting into his floater bag. We started missing shots. They started getting out in transition. And I have to say, I think it was like one of the highest percentages of opposing fans that we've seen this season for sure. About 40%, I would say, Knicks fans, and a very loud section of them behind, couple sections above the Knicks bench. And they were going back and forth with the swell. Let's go Knicks, go Clips go, or LAC, whatever it was. It was pretty funny. It was like soccer. It was like when you have the opposing fan section and then you have the, your ultra section. It was very reminiscent of that. But we were able to withstand that run. I thought Ty Lue honestly took a little too long to call a timeout there, but we closed the game out. And I think our 3-point shooting was a big reason why we won this game. Yet we did not shoot the ball well against the Memphis Grizzlies. We shot 4 for 17 from 3. So you already knew there was going to be a real focus to shoot more threes in this game. And that happened. And we made more threes in this game. We shot 46% from the field to the Knicks 51. But from 3, we shot 46% to their 35. 18 for 39 from downtown. Kawhi Leonard hit 2. DJ hit 4. Brook hit 3. KD and Nico hit 1. Ben hit 2. And DG hit 5. We were hitting our 3 ball. And I said, maybe because we shot so poorly against Memphis, we'll shoot better against New York. And lo and behold, that happened. Ben Mathurin hit some big threes down the stretch. Darius Garland hit that sidestep 3 over Karl Anthony Towns. And then the play that I thought was kind of the difference maker was Ben Matherin's, or the clincher, I should say, was Ben Matherin's and one in the fourth quarter, very late in the game. What a tough finish. It was right in front of the swell. Tough finish. And by the way, the vlog of the game is out. I think I got that N1 on video. Tons of fans after the game commented and were giving their thoughts on the team and getting back to 500. So please check that out. Some great stuff. And I was in row 3 of the swell. So I had a really solid seat, except for the fact that I was right smack dab behind the backboard or behind the basket. But Ben Matherin, big and one. And we were able to make enough free throws late in the game to seal the deal and not get it to be too close. But it did get a little too close for comfort at one point, but then you also got to take a step back and remember, we're not better than the Knicks in terms of our expectations heading into this season and what we've been this season. But I may sound crazy right now. I only had one drink, so don't accuse me of that. In a 7-game series, if you take this team into the playoffs healthy, with healthy John Collins, you give them Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride back, I'll take our chances. Like, Kawhi is the best player in the series. Like, Jalen Brunson's great, but don't even start talking about that. Like, let's not get it twisted. Jalen Brunson's been better the last 4 years than Kawhi because of his availability. But who's better at basketball? Like, when Kawhi was playing against KD and the Suns in the 2023 playoffs before he got hurt, would you take Jalen Brunson over him? Hell no. In 2024, when Kawhi was All-NBA, would you take Jalen Brunson over him? Jalen Brunson was great that season, but hell no. And I wouldn't take him. Last year, of course, you got to go with Brunson. But Kawhi, he didn't really play he played less than half the season. So with all due respect to Jalen Brunson and how incredible he's been this year, I'm taking Kawhi every time, especially with his defensive ability. We've seen Kawhi be the number one option on a championship team. However much you think he's declined, we haven't seen Jalen Brunson take his team to the finals in the East. And Kawhi's East had a couple of really solid teams that were better than this year. Everybody is saying that this year, the East is wide open. And the crazy part is the Knicks did the hard work last year and beat the Celtics, who were the big bad defending champions, and didn't get it done. And I have so much sympathy for the Knicks because I think they have incredible fans with so much passion. And that city deserves, and that fan base deserves a championship. Not as much as the Clippers, though. Hell no. Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, David Busher, and those guys took care of business back in the day. So we don't have no Clyde Frazier for the Clippers. Or Patrick Ewing, who was in attendance, by the way. Talk about aura. Patrick Ewing, baby. Anyway, but big win. Big win indeed. Big plays down the stretch. Neck and neck game. I thought our defense was pretty solid, even though they ended up scoring 118 points. We did a solid job on Brunson. Even though he shot super efficiently, 12 for 23, he was 2 for 7 from the three-point line. He only shot 3 free throws, and the fact that the Knicks only shot 16 free throws was huge because Brunson's a guy who gets to the line at will, and we forced 3 turnovers on Brunson and 20 on their entire team. So when you force 20 turnovers and you're at home, you're usually going to win the game. 20 turnovers for them, 8 turnovers for us. As I already mentioned, for me, the biggest thing was our three-point shooting, 46% from 3. And how do we get those shots? A lot of drive and kick.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 College wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.